everybody. As I often say, it is an absolute privilege to be able to speak to you and be part of this community. There is not a group of people in the world that are stronger, kinder, more compassionate, and empathetic. And I'll tell you, my role models and the people I respect more than anybody on earth are the people in these recovery groups, our rooms, and now what has become my best friends. So I appreciate the privilege of being able to be part of this group. We are probably one of the largest groups in the world where actually nobody wanted to be a member, but what a blessing. I wanted to do a little Q&A today. I'll hit a couple and then we'll pick some more up later in the week. I'm kind of tired, so I did have some extra time tonight, and I'm going to be busy the next 2 weeks, so I wanted to get something out to you. First I'll give you my disclaimer. As always, I'm not a doctor. I've never been a doctor. I didn't go to medical school. I don't give advice. I don't have any opinions for you. All I can do is tell you what happened to me, what it was like, what it's like today, and a glimpse of the other side as we all try to get to that place called freedom. First question today, and as I read it, it's a little long, so I'm going to paraphrase it, but I think it's a good one. What it is entailing, guys, is morning anxiety in not only recovery. For me, it's benzo recovery, but also for me, it's kind of double dipping because of my mental illness with anxiety and depression. One of the folks I talked to a week ago said that, Phil, look, I'm anxious 24/7. That's a given. If I can ratchet it down from 10 to 8 and be a little bit functional, at this point I'm happy. And what they basically said is the center square, the kind of the table setter was in the morning. They wake up with a horrendous anxiety. And man, did that hit home with me. And I said, we're gonna answer that one first when we do our next video, because he used the word horrendous. I just used the word terrorizing. You almost dread when you start to come out of that sleep after your 45 minutes that night of sleep. As we all know, gosh, this guy said he's up to 3 hours a night and he thought he'd hit the lottery. Small victories, right? And his comment was, it's when I dread coming out of sleep because I know the anxiety and terror are going to strike. And, there's people that can wake up and roll over and sleep for another hour. Not us. Our body is on full voltage, like we stuck our finger into an electrical socket right when we open the eyes, and it's particularly bad in the morning. His question was, maybe I can reduce anxiety throughout the day if I can get some help taking the big hit off in the morning. And like I said, that's me. So what I want to talk about today is my thoughts on the physical remedies that I took to make my mornings not as horrifying with the crazy anxiety. But then again, like I do in all my videos, I'll talk about the physical symptoms, which everybody does, but then I want to talk about the mental piece of it, which is what almost nobody does. And that's where the fear, that's where I get really scared. And that's the piece I would never want people to have to go through. you know, I think in recovery, you know, that's 95% of relapse is the mental piece. We just weren't told enough about it, and we weren't prepared for it. If I can get prepared for it, I've got a much better fighting chance. But I need to know what's coming, especially between my ears. So the physical piece, what I have done, and by the way, you know, what's the problem? It's your adrenal gland, your adrenals are, in my case, mine are shot, damaged. And you know, it could come from many different reasons. It can be from being an ACOA, being someone who's had trauma, long-term PTSD. It could be genetic. It could be a dysfunctional family. You know, on my side, I've learned that much of my mental illness is genetic, and it's now that I'm aware of it, it's just real easy to tic-tac-toe it back multiple generations, and gosh, you almost wish that those folks were able to identify it and get help, and maybe they wouldn't have passed so young, and lived happier lives. So the physical side, oh, and by the way, the adrenal kicks out cortisol, obviously, and it kicks out cortisol, which is the stir of the pot of anxiety. Too much cortisol is gonna spike your anxiety through the roof. And if your adrenal is compromised or damaged, instead of, you know, if you have a hose, instead of having a cap on it where you can control how much cortisol comes out, like the water when you're watering your lawn, the cap is pulled off, the hose is on full, and it's just blowing all over the place, except it's blowing in your brain. And that is something that you know, we want to get a handle on. We want to get that hose, we want to grab it, we want to wrestle it down, put the cap on, so we dictate how much cortisol comes out and goes through our system. And by the way, you know, to tie this together on the physical side, your cortisol levels are at their highest in the morning. So reducing cortisol is a key. And the fact that your cortisol is at its highest level when you first wake up, part and parcel of that is why your anxiety is so bad in the morning. So bad, damaged adrenal, can't control cortisol flow, too much cortisol flow, which happens to be the worst in humans in the morning, gives me that over anxious terror and anxiety when I first wake up, which is dreadful. Physical side, white fish. For me, nights I eat white fish, I don't have a bad of anxiety, panic in the morning. I drink a quart of water before bed. I know that means I get up 17 times to pee, but it's worth it. Waking up relatively calm versus freaked out. And eggs, you know, I'll for lunch sometimes now just have bacon and eggs, trying to watch the carbs, and the eggs help me. So eggs, fish, a quart of water before bed. And then, you know, my smoothies and veggies that I talk about because of the right types of fiber, and obviously vitamin C is key. I'm big on the emergencies and airbornes and whatnot, but the vitamin C from a powder is just different than getting it from the source. As you know, I do the research on our behalf. And I have found that certain fruits, as people call them, for each of my ailments, my magic smoothies, you know, with my ADD, my ADHD, my RLS, my OCD, my list of alphabetically driven diseases, I kind of have a little smoothie recipe for each of them. And no different here for reducing cortisol in the morning on the physical side. I always write them down because these are a little different than my normal smoothies. Papaya, kiwi, pineapple, grapefruit, and blueberries. What I do, gang, is I go to Costco or Walmart or Target, and I get the big bags of these fruits. or a wholesale produce shop, and I buy the little sandwich baggies, 30 a month, right? And then in a box, and I individually package up these 5 fruits, and I chuck them in the freezer. So I'm not doing hardly any work at all, other than you know, dumping them in the blender. And dairy products are not good for my benzo belly and abused digestive system. So I use soy milk, and I actually prefer it now. I treat myself to the vanilla soy milk. To me, it tastes almost like marshmallow. And so you dump your kiwi, your grapefruit, your blueberries, your papaya, and your pineapple, and then you put half a cup of vanilla soy in there and blend it up, and it is phenomenal. And the heavy dose of vitamin C in those particular fruits have been winners for me. A little different than my normal smoothie. But like I said, this one is directly to reduce cortisol in the morning, because it is, I would say, insomnia, restless leg, and then the sheer terror in the morning. Probably the 3 things that have scared me and freaked me out and hurt me the most over this long ride. On the veggie side, it is a who's who list of everything I hate. It's Brussels sprouts, asparagus, spinach, broccoli, and kale. And I mix them with tomato juice, and I blend them up. And I'll alternate between the smoothie and the veggie aid, which is, again, heavy on leafy greens and vitamins that are proven and known to reduce cortisol. So the veggie juice with tomatoes juice, the smoothies, all prepackaged, nice and easy, 1 at night, 1 in the morning. I switch back and forth. White fish, eggs, and a quart of water. If you're serious about lowering your cortisol and starting to heal your adrenal, I recommend it, and I'd put the work in to do it. It's all the prep work, and once you get the prep work done, you're ready to rock and roll. So that's the physical. Now, what about the mental? And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where, and you've heard me say this in all the videos, if I could have had somebody explain this to me early on, I wouldn't have been so horrified, and I wouldn't have been so out of my mind, and I would have been able to handle things better. I think a lot of folks that relapse in my world don't do it because of the acute withdrawal symptoms. They do it because the mental stuff over time is very disheartening. And you start to get into a mind pattern that you may not get better. And understanding that this is coming, this is what it feels like, and this too shall pass. I can't say enough about that, and that's what I hope people get out of these videos. So, what I started to do. I never could yoga. I mean, I could do yoga, but I wasn't great at it, and I didn't feel like I got a ton out of it. Nothing personal. I know people are fanatical about yoga. I'm just my anxiety is so bad. It is just hard to concentrate from minute to minute. And so, how would I learn how to do yoga and meditate when I was just struggling to pay attention for 30 seconds at a time? Well, this is how I did it. This was my meditation. I'd lay down, I'd wake up and I'd lay flat in the bed, and I would welcome the anxiety and the pain. And I would embrace it. I know that sounds weird. I hope this is making sense. Let me know in the comments if it's making sense. But I would lay still, and I would identify and embrace what was going on. Oh, my neck is tight. I can feel it. I can feel it. What else? My forehead has an aching pain right now, and I still twitch a little in the morning because the anxiety is so bad. God, my jaw. No wonder I don't sleep and have a headache. I'm grinding the shit out of my teeth. I can feel that pain. I can feel that clenching. My chest feels like it's tight. And I would identify it all, and I would love it. And I would say, boy, that's okay. You have gone through years of pain, but you're still here, and this too shall pass. It's not going to beat you. But I embraced it. And the way I embraced it, guys, is I always have to have like a metaphor. Like when benzo withdrawal is really bad, you know, when you're at like wit's end and you just can't go on anymore, the really bad days where your brain is moving and you don't know what to do. I would always think of a little man in my head who had one of those like torches and wires, and had on the heavy cover and the the glass goggles that they'd look through as they're melding the wires, fixing the old ones and rewiring new ones. And when my pain got bad, I just was like, well, the reason I'm feeling it so bad today is the little man or little woman is soldering my head back together. And I took a negative pain and I tried to make it a positive. And I got into a habit of thinking that it wasn't pain because I wasn't ever going to get better. It was pain because I was being healed, resoldered, worked on. And sometimes when you work on things, there's going to be some pain, but in the end, you're going to get better. Same thing with the laying still. What I thought of to do that was my little kid. You know, so much of our anxiety comes from when we're young, if it's genetic or if it's environmental. And so much of it, if it's environmental, was our little kid selves using it as a survival tool to whatever, you know, had them scared or in fear. It wasn't their fault. My little 8-year-old Phil, it wasn't his fault that he had to use shutdown anxiety to get through situations consistently. And there were so many of them that his motor just got turned on and stayed on. I embrace him now when I have morning anxiety. I say, Phil, come here. Like, let me hug you. It's not your fault. You know, little Jane, little Tommy, you know, little Stacy, little Sandy. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But I'm here now and I'm going to love you. And I treated my morning anxiety instead of the enemy. Because when I treat it as the enemy and I try to get away from it and I say, oh no, when's this going to stop? Oh my God, I got to get up. I can't. This day's going to be terrible. I take a snowflake and roll it down the hill and it's an avalanche when it hits me. I just don't know how to not compound things when I begin to go negative, right? I just go negative and it snowballs on me. So I completely had to switch my morning anxiety to, this is not evil. This is not going to compound into just a heart attack of stress. This is going to, I'm going to love this pain. I'm going to follow it, right? Forehead, ear, oh, back of my neck, oh, chest is tight. And I started to follow it. And the first couple weeks, I could only do 30 seconds. And then I'd be so like, already like, you know, restless leg jumping and headache. And nervousness and worry and dread about the day. And if I had nothing to do that day, I'd have to make stuff up to worry or dread about. That's how bad my intrusive thinking was. And I would stretch it out. You know, after 3 months, I was up to about 10 minutes. After 6 months, I would do 15 to 17 minutes. And that was my meditation. You know, 15 to 17 minutes of checking in, following, embracing, loving my 8-year-old self, and labeling him as the anxiety. And instead of being scared and running from him, which had happened to him as, you know, many parts of his life, or you, embracing him and hugging him. I mean, I hope that makes sense, because that was a game changer for me. You know, when I was able to reduce my morning anxiety by understanding my adrenal was damaged and I had to slow down cortisol, so I changed my diet. That was part of it, but understanding that this morning anxiety and terror was meant to be embraced, and the way I embraced it was I thought of it as an 8-year-old kid who didn't deserve any of this fucking shit. You didn't. Your little person didn't. But now they have you to hold them and say, I know you're this anxiety, and I know it's not your fault, and I know it was a survival tool for you, for whatever the issue was, and or genetics, right? And that flip of the switch, after 6 months, I started to wake up with much, like a bully, you know? You run from the bully gets stronger. You stand up and embrace it, or you ignore it completely, it starts to dissipate. So, that's the first thing I want to say. Morning anxiety, it's terrorizing. It's the worst anxiety of the day, in a day that, for me, has always been 24/7 anxiety. So, on the physical side, fish, egg, quart of water, as some of you guys call my magic smoothies, and then my tomato juice veggie drinks that are high in fiber, leafy greens, and vitamins that actually reduce cortisol levels. And then the mental piece of it, for the first time in my life, instead of losing my breath and realizing I'm not breathing because I'm so scared of the anxiety, flipping the switch, looking at it as my inner child, actually embracing it, and then moving forward from there. Huge, huge. Stick with it. And now I can honestly say I'm a meditator. Never thought I'd say that, and I couldn't do it the conventional way. I had to use my horrendous anxiety in the morning to teach me how to meditate. All right. The next question that came in was about family, and I talked to a guy that's become a really dear friend of mine in California. He's 2 years off of a combination of Effexor, which is, you know, norepinephrine, SNRIs, whole different ball game, guys, versus SSRIs. Tricky stuff on the exit side, and also Ativan, and the combination of getting him off to 2. He's 2 years out, and it's gotten to the point now where he thinks now he might lose his marriage, and he might lose his, he's losing his relationship with his daughter. And he said, what's the end game? What's the goal? I mean, it's been 2 years of my life, Phil. I'm your age. You know, how many more years do I have to sacrifice out of how many years I have left, right? I mean, I'm 55 years old. How many, honestly, do I have left? Gosh, if I make it to 80, thank God, that's only 25. How many can I sacrifice to this recovery? And I understand that. Have you ever thought that? And, you know, and maybe I'll just go down with the ship and at least be able to function, even in intolerance, you know, in interdose withdrawal or whatever the side effects are. No, you're getting better. Your little man is soldering your brain, and you've come too far. But I have great empathy for your wife, I told him, and your daughter. And the reason I have great empathy is I lost my connection with my kids. The first 2 years, I mean, not that I was the best dad in the world ever. My oldest two were 9 and 10 when I quit drinking. So, I mean, they had to live with my alcoholism and the horror of that. So, I mean, I was no prize to begin with. Such a damaged, self-loathing, self-critical mess to begin with. But during this antidepressant and benzo withdrawal, I never thought, guys, I never thought I would lose my boys. We did everything. My daughter, you know, it's like dads and daughters have their moments, and I love my daughter so much, and we've always had our moments. But my boys, I through thick and thin, I still was their hero and mentor, and over the course of this withdrawal, I lost them. And I never thought that would happen. Once you get through this, you know, get a great family therapist. The shit that's come out has been life-changing for me. And it's been incredibly painful and unbelievably rewarding and healing. And so when he brought this up to me last week, you know, his question was, "What's the end game? What's the goal?" I mean, I'm flat. I don't feel joy like I felt for anything. Things that used to make me happy. It's been a couple years, losing my family, and I was able to tell him, and I said, "Listen to me." I said, "I've been there. I've been there. Don't give up, it gets better." And what I told him was, use people like me, use people that have put out content on this stuff. And what I recommended to him was, listen to the podcast I did with Geraldine Burns. It's on my channel somewhere. It's the interview with Geraldine Burns. I think it's called, you know, How Withdrawal Addiction Affected My Family. And then also I have one called My Key to Benzo Recovery. And in both of those I talk, but especially in the Hour podcast, about the pain of loss. You know, they think that we really want to just lay on the couch all day for years at a time and watch Steve Wilkos reruns. We want to sleep all day, but we can't sleep at night. You know, how's that? We've got tremendous energy and anxiety, but we can't do anything. It's like we're hitting the brakes and the gas at the same time, trying to drive down the street. Exhausting. And sometimes it takes a third party to explain it to your family. You know, when I yell at my kids, sometimes they don't listen. If another dad yells at them, they listen right away. And so I just said, try to get content and try to have them listen to someone else explain what happened. Again, so much of this is, if I know what's coming and other people have experienced it and they've made it, I can make it. I can make it through almost any. I know I can. I can make it through anything. Because to answer his question, what's the end goal? The end goal is you're going to be 110% better than you've ever been in your entire life. And I can promise everybody watching this video right now, you can be and will be 110% better than you ever were before you started any medication way back when. I say 110% because not only does it all come back, but you have a perspective on what's important, and you have freedom. There's no more lying and deception and hiding. Everybody knows everything about you. It's all on YouTube. You're free. And you don't have to worry about anything anymore. And when you have things happen to you in everyday life, car crash, you know, a fender bender, you get fired from your job, you're late on your mortgage 3 weeks because, you know, COVID has things where you're not making the money. These things, pre-recovery, would have taken me down. Taken me down. Man, I would have been like, where's the pills? Where's the numb? Where's the drink? Doesn't affect, I mean, now, yeah, I'll deal with it. It'll be okay. And I work through it. And I intuitively can figure out things that would have in the past baffled me. So that added dimension makes my life 110% as opposed to 100. So I've said many times, gang, it's a love story. It takes time. T-I-M-E, things I must earn.